that it's been my experience, the reason that people get into drugs and alcohol of all kinds is that there's some pretty serious voids in their life, and that there's some pretty serious things missing in their lives, and oftentimes that's things of meaning missing. So what I mean by that is that there's some large gaps in their lives. There's things that they're trying to fill with the sensations and the feelings that come along with drugs and alcohol. So that's, again, a very generalist answer, and we could get real specific about that, but it's different for everybody. But more importantly than that, what I believe is that drugs and alcohol they provide an anesthesia. And I think typically, probably not all the time, but typically and most of the time, drugs and alcohol provide an escape or an anesthesia. It's a painkiller. It provides a real handy way to avoid or escape or deny pain or something that's uncomfortable or something that's difficult. And in our society, and this we're going to take just a little bit of a detour. It's not a broad detour, but it's a long one. In our society, we have this notion that pain or discomfort of any kind is to be avoided or anesthetized or denied at all costs. So everything from a headache to a sliver to a wart to stress of any kind or anything that's uncomfortable in any way is to be avoided or gotten rid of no matter what. So we have this pervasive notion in our society that discomfort is bad and that you're to get rid of it in the quickest, shortest way possible. So pain is the enemy, in simplest terms. And I think that's become a problem, particularly for our youth. And it's a problem for our adult population, but it's really a problem for our youth. They don't know how to be uncomfortable. They don't know how to deal with pain. And so when something is uncomfortable, and sometimes that discomfort is something as simple as boredom. Sometimes that discomfort is something as simple as they don't know what to do. It's a void of, they're bored. It's a void of nothingness, and that's uncomfortable, and they don't know what to do with that, and so they fill it with the sensation brought about by getting high. They don't know what to do with their lives. They don't know what they want. We've talked about that at some other times. And so you can ask them what do they want, and they say they want to be happy or they want to feel good. And I ask them what does it mean to be happy. They don't know, and so then they say, well, I want to feel good. And you ask yourself, what's the easiest way to feel good? Well, get high. So what's the easiest way to feel good? Just go buy a dime bag of pot and smoke yourself out. Real simple. So we ask ourselves, why do kids relapse even when they know that drug use is wrong? Well, because they want to feel good. And they don't know how else to feel good, so they just keep wanting to feel good, and they keep relapsing over and over and over and over. So back to my original premise, is why do people keep using drugs? Is they want to avoid discomfort, because we don't know what to do with discomfort. So we have this idea that pain is the enemy, discomfort is the enemy. Now I'm going to suggest to you, and this is a radical notion, and I'm not sure that I'm going to live up to it myself, but I think we'd be better off in our society if instead of always trying to get rid of pain, we would reframe pain, instead of it being the enemy and something to get rid of, if we would reframe that to be something that pain is not the enemy, it's a teacher. If we could help our kids understand that pain or discomfort in all its varieties is a teacher, and it's something that we can learn from. And that if we would approach pain as a revered teacher with some dignity and with some respect and some honor, and would approach it with the idea of learning, I think we'd be a lot better off. It's been my experience that when I've allowed myself to do that, and when I've assisted people who have come to me for help in doing that, but they generally experience is that the pain goes away on its own. They don't have to anesthetize it. They don't have to chase it away. They don't have to deny it or escape it or do all the things that we typically do with pain. Now, there are obviously those occasions in physical pain where there's a structural abnormality or a problem physiologically where pain is going to be there and where we can't avoid that, and then it's important to seek the help of a physician to manage that pain. And we've all had that experience. But again, even in physical pain, if you can approach that pain with the idea of learning and learn what the problem is and then seek the assistance of a healthcare professional to help you manage that pain, then you know what's going on. You get those answers and you can figure that out. If you don't get that learning and you just bury that pain or anesthetize it, you're going to do more damage to yourself if you don't learn from that pain. So even in physical pain, it's important to listen to the pain and learn from it and then make decisions that are educated decisions in terms of what you're going to do with that. But really what we're talking about here is the emotional, spiritual kind of pain that we typically, especially in the case of adolescents, don't do a very good job at helping them learn from. And what I'm arguing is that we need to help our kids learn from by going into and exploring their own discomfort and their own pain rather than just avoiding it, anesthetizing it, escaping it, denying it, doing the things that we typically do with pain. Now the kicker with this is that the only way that we can do that with our kids is that we have to show them how. We can't talk it to them. We can't tell it to them. And so what I'm suggesting with that then is that our kids have to see us do that. Our kids have to see us hurt. Now, I meet parents all the time that say, I don't want my kids to see me cry. And I could interview 100 men, and I'll bet you 95 of them would say, I've never seen my father cry. Our kids need to see us as dads cry. Our kids need to see moms cry. They need to see us as parents hurt. And that doesn't mean you got to cry all the time, because that's not the only way that we experience pain. But our kids need to see us engage pain. They need to see us hurt. They need to hear about it. They need to see us engage that pain, work through it, learn from it, hear what we've learned from it, so that they then have the courage and the understanding to engage their pain and then be able to process it with us and talk with us about it without having to be afraid of it. Because unfortunately, the unspoken, sometimes spoken, but most of the time unspoken message that we give to our kids by our actions and our behavior is that we don't do pain. We don't talk about it, we don't experience, we don't engage it, we avoid it. We don't deal with it. It's what we teach our kids. And they just follow our example. So I think we need to do a better job of engaging pain and helping our kids understand that and go through it and go into it. And that would help our kids not feel such a great need to fill their lives with drugs and alcohol. I think that's a real problem. Obviously, there's other things. There's the societal messages out there that say drugs are cool, alcohol's cool. We got all the ads on TV, you know, Captain Morgan and all that kind of stuff out there, and it's ridiculous. But I think that we've really got to get away from the idea that to have fun, you have to be altered. I think we need to get back to the idea that reality is cool. And that if your reality ain't cool, fix it. Make it cool. If you've got to be altered in some way to have a good time, there's a problem. If your reality ain't cool, if you're not having a good time in your life, there's a problem. And you can fix it. And that's where we've got to get to. We've developed this surreal notion that for you to have a good time, you have to be altered, and we've really got to help our kids through that, I think. And we have it in our whole society, you know. Mom, Dad got to have a beer when they get home. Why? Why can't you have a Dr. Pepper? Why can't you have, you know, something else? Why are we such a society of addicts? Why are we such a society of you have to have some sort of mood altering something? Why do you got to have a pill to be okay? Why do you got to have to, you know? And I'm not saying don't take your medication. I'm not saying don't take the things that you need to be okay. What I'm suggesting is I don't think that we need all the mood altering substances that we have in order to be able to function or to have a good time. That's what I'm suggesting.